Hey educators, have you ever wondered how to use observations better? I will teach you to use them more effectively, not only to notice what you see, but revisit what you recorded if it's a short observation, to be able to analyze all the information that is important and use theory lenses, concepts to extend on what you observe. Observation is a bit of an art, and for this particular observation that is under 1 minute long, we are going to use the planning cycle from the EYLF. Even if you are not in Australia and not Australian educator, you might like this planning cycle because this gives you really important steps in approaching any interactions with children, and I hope it will improve your observations as well. So, we are going to watch a video that is created many years ago with this group of children. I covered their faces for safety. We had a lot of wonderful experiences with worms, and at the end of the video, if you will show till the end, I will show you some beautiful program that I created with these children that was almost a month of investigations, inquiry based learning, and a lot of connection to country, to earth, to sustainability, and of course STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. For this video, we are going to use the early years learning framework planning cycle. Planning cycle is a very good tool to use in any of your planning observations, even if you are not in Australia, but it is a must for all Australian educators. As you can see, planning cycle describes the process that educators follow in planning, documenting, responding to, and supporting children's learning. Educators help using this tool go through stages such as observe, assess, plan, implement, and evaluate. We are going to go through some stages here, and you will see planning cycle in action. If you look at this wonderful diagram, observe requires you to listen. I would also add to notice. So educators use multiple sources of information to gather and document different aspects of children's learning, development, and well-being. This can be undertaken across your whole curriculum or throughout one day, including routines, planned or unplanned experiences, interactions with peers, family members, and other adults. At this particular stage, we are watching a video that I created during circle time or community time or yarning circle, where I brought real earthworms that I have in my garden from my worm farm to introduce children to something new, a creature that is other than human. Educators observe at this stage, listen to, engage with, and are attuned to children's dispositions, curiosity, discoveries, theories, perspectives, knowledge, skills, involvement in learning, and contribution to their own learning and learning of others. Basically, this is what we are going to try to notice: children's dispositions, maybe their interest, maybe their curiosity. We also will be attuned to their discoveries, theories, perspectives, knowledge, skills, involvement in learning. This is the very important step. If you are not attuned during the stage of observing or collecting information, if you are not listening, and in Reggio Emilia they call it pedagogy of listening, you might miss a lot of important points, and a lot of important skills will go unnoticed. So this is part of listening to 100 languages of children, their capabilities and unique ways of belonging, being, becoming, ensuring children and families' voices are heard and included. And this is what I'm going to focus this video on as well. We are going to look at the observation. We're going to listen to what children say, and not once, but more than once. As you can see, the pink next step is assess or analyze or interpret information. Because the focus of this video is more on observing, we will analyze some of the information that we will see. But the focus is, as I was saying, more on unpacking the observation, how to improve your observation skills. Yet I will, of course, give some ideas on what I've seen and help you to start analyzing children's learning and interpreting it. We also will plan some experiences. I will show you how I designed some experiences, and I designed a lot of experiences for this particular topic, worms. Yet it was an inquiry. So inquiry usually is child driven. So the experiences were almost always reflected interests of children. And as an educator, after you planned, you set up goals for your experiences, you wrote them down or shared them with families and children, you implement your experiences, and then you evaluate, critically reflect on your learning. And this way, this cycle makes the full circle and it can start again. Let's start by watching this video. We are going to watch it first time, focus on what do you notice, what this is all about, and you can make jottings while I will be jotting on the screen.
Look at that one. That was the longest. Guys, look, I think I just got a long one. But don't trust the other bugs.
Don't touch the other bugs. Yeah, other bugs don't like to be disturbed.
Many worms.
As you can see, it's very hard to capture what's happening, but if you think about describing it, you can see a group of children here, a group of preschoolers who are looking at some soil and some worms, and they are quite interested in it. So do you notice anything unusual, such as, are they excited? Are they curious? And this is the first run, right? So we are looking at the first stage is to notice and see what you see, right? So this is the first step of observation. Now we're going to be a little bit more attuned and watch it again. Now you're going to expand on your jottings and details, and you're going to try to capture children's exact words. This might be quite challenging, but let's give it a try.
That one. That was the longest. Whoa, guys, look, I think I just got a long one.
I will have to pause because it's very fast, even for preschoolers who are quite articulate. Oh, look at this one. So you would know, let's say, the child's name. So child 1. Yes, so the other child is saying, this one is the longest. Now we're gonna click and try to watch more. Whoa, I found.
But don't trust the other bugs.
Don't touch the other bugs. Yeah, other bugs don't like to be disturbed.
I also noticed that one child said, look how many of them. So how many?
Worms there is. They just wiggling.
This one is going away. And because it is a recording, we can add more details and capture exact children's words. That's why I really like videos and transcripts, because they give us insight into child's thinking.
Oh, look at that one. That was the longest. Whoa, guys, look, I think I just got a long one.
He said, I just got a long one.
Whoa, I found it. But don't trust the other bugs.
Oh, I found it.
Don't touch the other bugs. Yeah, other bugs don't like to be disturbed.
Look how many worms there is. They just wiggling.
I captured another one that was maybe by this child. Look, they're wiggling around. And this is the bit where we watched it second time, right? This is going to be saved on this slide. We'll come back to it. Now, try to assess, what do they know about worms? First question is, do they know what they're looking at? Yeah, it seems that they do. What have they noticed? Do they have any theories about worms and other than humans?
Look at that one. That was the longest. Whoa, guys, look, I think I just got a long one. But don't trust the other bugs.
Don't touch the other bugs. Yeah, other bugs don't like to be disturbed.
Look how many worms there is.
Just under the 1-minute video, and we already can see that children have a lot of knowledge about worms. Remember, this stage talks about dispositions. In terms of dispositions, I noticed curiosity. I noticed taking interest in worms. All of them are very engaged. I noticed that children like to observe worms, and they are observing with care, so they're very attentive to details. I also noticed that one of the children have a theory about ethics of care, how we need to look after worms, and she said exactly, don't touch the other bugs. Clearly, she also noticed other bugs. In terms of concepts, I also noticed that they talked about the length of the worms. How long is something? They talked about how many, that's quantity, and this is mass. How many? And they have pretty good concept as well. Look how many worms are there. Or there is. That worms might go somewhere. They didn't really mention if they have any legs, but they say they're really wiggling around. So they observed how worms move, and they might have a lot of questions here. And these are children theories about worms as other than humans. I'm just gonna write it down here. So you can start your mind map with children by summarizing these things. You can ask them after you watched real worms and interacted with them, what have they noticed? What color are worms? What are they? You can ask. Where do they go? How do they move? And in terms of worms as well, are they long? Also, if we ask inquiry questions, why? Some of them longer. And then you might expand on where they live, what they do, what they eat. And this can turn into inquiry-based learning, which is what I will show you happened to this group of children. Now let's look at the written observation that follows up this video. I hope you made some jottings as well, and now we are going to turn it into a proper observation. Sometimes you might not have a video, but you might have some pictures, right? And that's your written observation in the app, or you can use paper. Some teachers still use paper and pen and printed out images. As you can see here, these are the images of worms and the investigation. So when Kate opened the compost container and gently tipped out the soil onto the black mat, children leaned with wide eyes. "What's that moving?" asked Arya. "It's a worm." And as you can see, this is more detailed observation, right? A worm wriggled through the compost, curling and stretching. Some children used chopsticks to move the soil gently, while others watched with fascination. And whispered, "They look like spaghetti," and giggled. A few children chose to touch them gently with a finger, describing the sensation as squishy and slippery. The spontaneous moment sparked a curiosity and lots of questions. Where do they live? Do they have eyes? Can they bite? The moment marked the beginning of our worm inquiry, connecting children to nature, fostering empathy for living creatures, sparkling new investigations. As you can see here, I linked it to the outcome 2, yes, and I linked it to outcome 4 and 5. Your children interact verbally and non-verbally with others for a range of purpose. I also thought about some reflective questions that I might ask myself. How do we handle worms? How do we show them our care? As you can see, children might be a little bit rough, but here this image shows you that they are able to be quite considerate, right? And they use gentle fingers and touch. with other videos and with other observations, I can also show you that this evolved into a really interesting project. So we had a nature play experience focused on composting and caring for country. The day started with morning tea with fruit, and then we thought that we can slice apples and bananas by ourselves using safe knives and put them on paper towels. We offered these offcuts to our worm friends to see what they liked best. Indoors, we also looked at more worms, and then at some point we looked through magnifying glasses, set up an observation station, and we quietly observed the worms a little bit more. This is very interesting experience because one child noticed that they are eating the banana. Worms can eat as much as their own weight per day, and this child was quite fascinated by a banana. Someone else said they liked the dark stuff on the banana, which was quite cute. Throughout the day, children demonstrated a lot of curiosity about worms, and I'd say nature in general. And we also checked if worms like to eat big pieces of apple or small pieces of apple. So we looked into concepts of nature play, sustainability. I think children also experience sense of agency, and they were able to do a lot of wonderful discoveries during these investigations. We also are going to do next steps. If you remember planning cycle, that would be plan. So I think I would invite families to bring any compost-friendly food scraps if they have any leftovers. I will create a visual display documenting our worm discovery. I will also introduce worm feeding roaster to support ongoing care. We pretty much used it every day. From our morning tea offcuts are perfect and suitable, and sometimes from the afternoon tea as well. Make worms from clay. To learn a little bit more about the autonomy, look at the books such as Compost 2 and the book about worms. We also had a worm farm outside, which we used to share with the other group. And in this particular instance, children used it every day as they were dropping food inside this new worm farm. For observation, we had this observation station, and I was telling children that worms need a little bit of water and moist, and children were using a lot of eyedroppers and water to give worms a little bit of water and a little bit of food. So this is much smaller and it's more for observation purposes, but I think the big farm was really good because it allowed them to watch and observe. I'm going to also share one Padlet with you in case if you want more ideas for planning around worms and composting, but you could see that observations are only beginning of your planning cycle, and you need to be very attentive in terms of what you do with these observations, how you approach them, and how you analyze them. So many ways. But if you are focusing on, let's say, nature play, the concepts are quite clear. I learned about worms. That's initial stage of learning. And the more experiences you will do, the more probing or open-ended questions you will ask, the more children will learn about worms. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in other videos about planning, I will add them in the description below. And also I have a wonderful video about projects or inquiry-based projects around dinosaurs, around similar important topics that children like to engage with, such as hospital play.